Interestingly, I wanted to touch base regarding Brampton Centre.
Sure.
Where there is a guy whose name is 𝐒𝐞𝐬𝐭.
Yes.
He's running from that riding.
Indeed.
Why are we going to talk about him?
Although I have a sincere bias in this regard because...
So that's very interesting and new to me, and I think many of the Bramptonians would be very excited and very surprised to know this, that PCs has objection for some of those points where they are saying that hopefully they will be starting the construction for the second hospital somewhere in March, not in March, then hopefully in April. So what do you think? Is that just a fake promise by them?
Tariffs are put on hold. Doug
Right.
Ford said that he was going to be our chief negotiator. Turns out that it wasn't Doug Ford. We all know from the news releases it was the Prime Minister that actually negotiated the deal with Donald Trump, and Doug Ford had nothing to do with it.
Right.
So we have an election for nothing that costs $200 million.
So right now in this election, NDP is running to be the number
Government.
one party,
We
or
are running
they
to be
want
the
it-
government,
Okay.
and Merit Stiles will be the next Premier of the province of Ontario.
And what are the plans to make sure that the people of Brampton, especially in your riding, are getting the maximum benefit in terms of jobs and economy-related issues? What else would be on your priority list for the transportation industry, apart from these kind of small issues or bigger issues? What would be the priority for the trucking industry only? ਜੀ ਦੋਸਤੋ, ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਹਰਜਿੰਦਰ ਗਿੱਲ ਸ਼ੋ 1350 AM ਤੇ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਦੇਰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਮਾਰਟਿਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਈਸਟ ਤੋਂ NDP ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਨੇ, ਉਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁਆਇਨ ਕਰ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਨੇ। ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਸੋ ਸਾਡਾ ਇੱਕ ਖਾਸ ਸੈਗਮੈਂਟ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਪਲਸ ਆਜੋ ਜੁਆਇਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ ਮਾਰਟਿਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ। ਮਾਰਟਿਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ,
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਭਾਜੀ।
ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
ਕੀ ਹਾਲ ਹੈ ਜੀ? How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm doing very well. Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be back here again.
Same here, brother. Thank you. Nice to see you again. So last time you were running for Brampton North, and this time Brampton East. Just wanted to know the equations between this shift.
So what it is that, in the time that has passed since 2015, like that was 10 years ago,
Right.
What it is that I've been much more involved in Brampton generally.
Okay.
And that has come through my work as the commanding officer of the Army Cadet Corps that exists here in Brampton.
Right.
And while we get cadets from all over Brampton in that Army Cadet Corps, the majority of those come from Brampton East. And so the work that I've been doing in the community has been focused primarily in that area. Okay. And then, of course, I ran municipally back in 2018, and half of that area was in Brampton East as well. So,
Okay.
so a significant amount of my time and effort through community work has been focused on that area, and I feel that I understand the issues in that area best out of all the parts in Brampton.
Right. So this segment is a political pulse, and especially we call it Know Your Candidate.
Certainly.
So we'll know more about you as well. But before that, interestingly, I wanted to touch base regarding Brampton Centre.
Sure.
Where there is a guy whose name is 𝐒𝐞𝐬𝐭.
Yes.
He's running from that riding.
Indeed.
Why are we going to talk about him?
Well, we will absolutely talk about him if you wish. But what I would encourage you to do is that when he comes here himself, you
Right.
will have an opportunity to speak with him. He's very, very capable,
Right.
although I have a sincere bias in this regard because he is my son.
Okay.
And so, but...
So that's very interesting and new to me, and I think many of the Bramptonians would be very excited and very surprised to know this, that Brampton East and Brampton Centre, both ridings will be taken care by the same family.
Indeed.
So 𝐒𝐞𝐬𝐭 is your son.
Yes.
And you have twins, right?
Yes. Yeah, he's one of two sons, correct.
What about the other son? Where is he running?
No. No. It's not how it works. Yeah, and the next thing you're going to ask me where my daughter's running too, I'm sure. Yeah, no, that's not what's happening here.
Okay.
No, both of my sons are political. There is no doubt, but one is more focused on electoral politics, and the other one's a food scientist, in
Okay.
fact. And so his
Is
attention
he supporting at the back end?
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, it's the whole family is involved because you have to be in this. I mean, you can't go into politics without your family support, regardless. And so, everybody's participating in the process, but it is one son in particular that's involved in the political process.
Right. So let's know more about you, because many of the Bramptonians would be familiar with Martin Singh, but
Sure.
What about the new listeners and viewers Who's Martin Singh?
So basically, we've been living here in Ontario for some time. As you mentioned, we've run here in politics in the past. In terms of my own background, there are many different facets to it. I'm a licensed pharmacist,
right.
Businessman. We have a company that has a number of different locations here in Ontario and Nova Scotia. Our employee count, last time I checked, it's approximately about 350. And we're focused on healthcare. So we have care facilities that take care of people with psychiatric illness. It's one of the reasons why I'm very concerned, actually, about what's happening in Brampton with respect to the lack of hospital services, because I know firsthand what happens when people aren't able to access quality healthcare. And so we have, in our campaign, and the NDP generally are very concerned that, as mentioned earlier on the show, we have 800,000 people here now and really only one full-service hospital.
Right.
And we were promised another one. We were promised shovels in the ground in 2023.
Right.
No shovels in the ground, nothing happening. And so it really makes you question, the current Conservative government's commitment to Brampton. And it would appear as though Brampton's being neglected by both of the parties, really. You have Doug Ford not really participating in getting anything done in Brampton. And then, of course, you have all the recent videos about, Bonnie Crombie, the Liberal leader, saying more or less that she hates Brampton, which is, kind of tragic.
Okay.
And so there's really only one political party left that's made a commitment to take care of Brampton, really.
Right. So in your advertisement, we have heard you talking about the hospital and Highway 413 specifically.
Correct.
And you are from the medical field, and as you said, you have a very close ties and relation and emotions related to that same field.
Mm-hmm.
The Conservatives, PCs has objection for some of those points where they are saying that hopefully they will be starting the construction for the second hospital somewhere in March, not in March, then hopefully in April. So what do you think? Is that just a fake promise by them?
I mean, the best way to judge future behavior is by past and present behavior.
Right.
So their past and present behavior has been to do two things. One, make promises and not keep them. And secondly, waste money on projects that we don't need.
Right.
And so,
likewise?
Well, as an example, back in 2022, the company that owned the private section of the 407 had a $1 billion debt to the provincial government. And Doug Ford chose to write it off. Well, Paji, I don't need to tell you, you can build a lot of hospital for $1 billion.
Okay.
And so it's a matter of priorities. And that's not like in 2023 or 2024, which have both passed. That's in the long past. That was really at the very beginning, of their most recent mandate.
Right.
And so you have money like that that's been sitting out there that really could have been brought into government and put to good and effective use. Similarly, not this past Monday, but the Monday prior, the Financial Accountability Office for the province of Ontario came forward and said it's going to cost taxpayers $620 million for Doug Ford's plan to put alcohol in the corner stores.
Right.
Again, Paji, we can build a lot of hospital for $620 million.
What's the same amount?
Well, that's just it. So what it is, we have a political party that makes promises, doesn't keep them, and then literally wastes the money that could be used to put forward. I mean, ask yourself. You live here.
Right.
Your family's here. Your children are growing up in this community. Doug Ford is going to cost on the Ontario families $400 each to put a luxury spa down at Ontario Place instead of putting a hospital in Brampton. Now, even if you love luxury spas, Paji, and I don't know, I know you fairly well, but I don't know you that well to know your luxury spa desire. But my expectation is that you don't care about it as much as having a second hospital in the city where your family's growing up.
Right.
And that would be true, I think, for most people in Ontario, because we know that there's investment that needs to be done here. If we move away now from hospital, we look at schools. Like we're out meeting folks at schools, throughout the campaign and that sort of thing, and consistently it comes back. And
right.
even if you didn't hear from them, you can see all the portables. You know that our schools are packed. We are short on staff. The NDP is saying instead of investing in a luxury spa downtown, we're going to invest in more staff for our schools. We're going to invest in better infrastructure so the children can get the best education that they have. Really,
right. And what about the funding? How would you support your promises in regards of healthcare?
So part of the funding that I mentioned to you happens already. Like I mentioned, the $1 billion that was thrown away. There's another $620 million that were thrown away. Let's just talk about the election.
Okay.
How many staff could you pay for $200 million? Right. We have a $200 million election that we called now that wasn't required. Tariffs are put on hold. Doug Ford said that he was going to be our chief negotiator. Turns out that it wasn't Doug Ford. We all know from the news releases it was the prime minister that actually negotiated the deal with Donald Trump, and Doug Ford had nothing to do with it.
Right.
So we have an election for nothing that costs $200 million. Again, it's not that the money's not there, Pudgy. We just have to make a decision to put it in the correct place.
Okay. So we just need to place it and position it on the right way.
Indeed.
Right. And what about the logic behind, as you have already mentioned, that now the election is there. And I know the Liberals and NDPs were opposing the logic behind this election. And now we are in the election. We cannot reverse that decision, right?
Correct.
So what about the planning and making the arrangements in the province-wise by the NDP in terms of their candidates? Because we have faced that issue with many ridings where NDP is searching and NDP is struggling to finding their candidates in many ridings. So what about that arrangement?
So I can't speak about the past because I'm not intimately familiar with that, but I can share with you currently we are doing fantastic.
Okay.
So Merit Stiles, leader of the NDP and going to be the next premier of the province of Ontario, she and her fantastic team have done great work in this regard.
Right.
It's about 124 ridings in total, and I think of that we have completed maybe 97%.
Okay.
And that's a fantastic number. I mean, you think about this as we sit here today, Pudgy.
Right.
It might feel like a long time, but the election was only called a week ago.
Right.
So in 1 week, people have been able to make arrangements with their employers, make arrangements with their families, and be able to take the commitment to become NDP candidates right across this province. I think it's a fantastic effort on behalf of our party. I am deeply pleased with 𝐒𝐞𝐬𝐭 outcome.
So NDP was the official opposition party,
correct?
Right.
Yes.
So don't you think they would have make those arrangements a long time ago?
Well, the thing is that you have to make sure that you respond to the situation as it presents itself. Mm-hmm. So up until maybe the middle of the month of January, certainly the party is working and that sort of thing, but we also had 2.5 years left in the mandate. So do you nominate all your candidates 2 or 2.5 years early? No political party does this.
Right.
Certainly it's easier for the incumbent, government to do it because many of their MPPs are already elected.
Right.
So I would say that for us, I've participated in many elections. I've been involved in the New Democratic Party politics since, really my early 20s and late teens. And I think Merit Stiles is doing an absolutely fantastic job. Mm-hmm. She and her team have been able to mobilize the entire party to be able to take the fight to Doug Ford, even on short notice. And, well, just as an example, she was here with us, not even 2 weeks ago in Brampton. It shows her commitment to the city of Brampton. She cares about the city. She wants to make sure that there are direct investments and promises, like building the hospital, that are going to be of benefit for the people in Brampton. And she will be visiting us again during the campaign, despite the fact that she has to, of course, go all throughout the province.
Right.
Clear commitment.
So right now in this election, NDP is running to be the number one party? Or
you're running to be the government,
okay.
And Merit Stiles will be the next premier of the province of Ontario.
Okay, that's okay. I like that instant response. Coming back to the healthcare, especially in GTA area, we have many families, and they don't have even a family doctor for them.
Correct.
So how would you tackle and how would you deal with that issue? Because that's the very major and primary right of the residents. So, and they are not aware about where to go with who's their family doctor, and especially for whenever there is any major concerns or issues.
Absolutely. So when we talk about healthcare, it's a very complicated process all the way through, no matter which level you speak at. However, some of the solutions that the NDP have presented already contribute to making a positive resolution there. So we talked about the hospital. yes, when we think about a hospital, we think about the hospital being there to service people's needs. Like it's a second emergency department, and we know that our friends and family can be taken up there more quickly and be treated more quickly. But what it also is, Baji, it's an opportunity to train new doctors, meaning that you just have more spots to be able to train the new family doctors that we need to bring into our city. Yes, the education's coming. We know that TMU is going to be opening the medical school in here in Brampton, and that's a fantastic...
And they're advertising that big time.
Yeah, and that's a fantastic opportunity. But when they graduate, the doctors need places to go in order to be able to train. Okay. This is why the hospital is so important. In addition, we know that the places where doctors train tend to be where they end up practicing.
Right.
It's one of the reasons why they have northern and remote medical schools here in the province and in other provinces, because as much as we have a family doctor problem here in Brampton, they also have it in other parts of the province. So they know that if they bring people from those areas, train them in those areas, whether it be the university education or the residency, they're more likely to stay there. That's why it's so critical that we get this infrastructure in place so that family doctors that get trained here stay here in Brampton and service the population.
And how would the NDP make sure that whosoever is getting their degrees in medical field, they will be serving in Brampton? Because we have noticed that many doctors are not interested to deal with Canadian hospitals or facilities, because the logic is they said they don't get paid as much as they are getting paid in US or any other countries.
Oh, okay. So Paji, let's dig deep into this one. Firstly, did there used to be a day where doctors left from Canada and went to the United States in numbers? Yeah, those days have long since passed.
Okay.
Like current data does not show that that's the case. The challenge that we have now is that we don't have enough of our university students entering into family medicine for their residency choice. They're choosing either, all the different other ones. So maybe cardiology, maybe nephrology, maybe endocrinology, whatever the case may be. So all those different specializations, we need to make sure that there is a suitable and intelligent path for people of their own choice, because we can't force them, of course, but of their own choice to go into family medicine. And I think that having the training facilities available locally will really help with that, because part of your job, yeah, absolutely it's pay and absolutely it's job fulfillment, but it's also lifestyle. If we're able to have people, our community, we like to live near our families.
Okay.
So if we have that opportunity, people would be more likely to choose it.
And what are NDP's plans to deal with the mental health issues?
So when we talk about healthcare and specific issues, be it mental health or heart issues or whatever the case may be, what happens is that the NDP looks at fundamental issues, meaning we want to look at what the core problems are to treat. Because the thing is this, we don't want to wait until someone develops a mental health issue and then put money into it. It costs a lot more then, and the problem's already there.
Right.
So, for example, we look at education, and you might come to me and say, well, education, how does education relate to mental health? One of the challenges that we have in our communities, and they exist here in Brampton, is that children don't have enough food to eat when they go to school.
Okay.
It's a stress on the children, but also it's a huge stress on the parents. Year after year, if you're going without a proper diet, not only are you going to suffer, in your school studies and that sort of thing, but it's going to be a precursor factor for mental health problems. Okay. So the New Democratic Party is coming in and saying, we're going to make an investment. We're going to say, okay, yes, as much as we're increasing staff in Brampton, as much as we're increasing, the budget for school structure and that sort of thing so that we are able to not have overcrowded classrooms, we're also making an investment so that our children have enough to eat so that they can go to school well and be able to become the best students that they can be. And this will have like a positive knock-on effect to help reduce mental health challenges inside the school system.
Right. And what are the plans to deal with the affordable housing?
So the affordable housing plan is going to be one of the platforms in the campaign. Again, what will happen is that we'll have an investment there. The details of that, because of course you don't release your entire platform on day one of the campaign, and we know this. So you'll have to have me back on the show to talk about the details of that when it comes.
Right.
But I can share with you that the NDP, you and I both know, have a decades and decades long commitment to making sure that we have affordable housing. This was even done back when the NDP had government back in the 1990s. And so this commitment remains. Again, instead of investing $620 million in a liquor plan, to put alcohol into corner stores, you can build a lot of housing, a lot of public housing for $620 million.
And these days we are listening big announcements in terms of the public transit in Brampton area. What's your take on that, and what would be the plans from the NDP's party side?
So the New Democratic Party is absolutely committed to public transit as well. The deep and overriding concern that we have is that the promise for public transit in Brampton is going to follow the same route as the promise for the hospital, meaning that it's a big show at election time. Everybody comes out, they say it's all fantastic, but then when it actually comes time to getting it done, it doesn't. And it's this track record of broken promises that exist here in Brampton that, for me as a candidate from Brampton, I take a personal concern with, because it impacts my family and the families of those in my riding. Right. But also from an overall party perspective, we know that Doug Ford isn't committed to Brampton, and he speaks one thing and then does very little to follow it up with. So we're concerned it's going to be a broken promise.
Right. So friends, this is 𝐿𝐮𝐻 show, and Martin Singh from Brampton East. He's NDP's candidate from Brampton East. He's with us. We have a caller, so let me take him on here. So Satnam ji, ਤੁਸੀਂ on the row?
Hello, ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ।
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ।
ਮੈਂ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਜੀ, NDP ਦੀ ਜਿਹਦਾ ਕੋਰਾ ਸੀਗਾ, ਕੀ ਨਾਮ ਉਹਦਾ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਡੈਥ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਜਿਹਦੀ?
ਆਪਣਾ ਜੈਕਲੇਟ।
ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਸੀਗਾ।
ਜੈਕਲੇਟ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ। ਉਦੋਂ ਸੀਟਾਂ ਵੱਧ ਸੀ, ਜਦੋਂ ਦੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਆਏ ਆ ਸੀਟਾਂ ਘਟ ਗਈਆਂ ਜੀ, ਕੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋ ਗਈ?
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਨਹੀਂ, ਪਰ ਜੈਕਲੇਟਨ ਹੋਰੀ ਤਾਂ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਹੀ ਸੀਗੇ ਜੀ ਨਾ, ਉਹ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਸੀਗੇ, ਉਹ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ।
ਓਕੇ ਜੀ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਜੀ, ਮਿਹਰਬਾਨੀ। Actually, he was asking about Jack Layton because he was a bit confused with the federal and provincial. Actually, that's something we need to discuss that too, because many of the people are concerned about and they are confused about the issues between federal, provincial, and city matters. So, how would you make sure that once you are elected, you'll make sure that each and every level of government and issues are taken care by you and your team?
So, what we do on the campaign trail, we hear this often. Like there are concerns about immigration, which are at the federal level, and then we have a lot of concerns that are shared with us at the municipal level. We had one just yesterday when we were campaigning, actually door to door, and in this particular case, it was a gentleman that was concerned about the speed with which vehicles were traveling around a children's playground in his neighborhood, and so he and a number of the other neighbors came to us and said that they would like to have speed bumps put in place. Well, speed bumps, again, that is not a provincial, area of responsibility. It's municipal. So I shared with him what happens in these cases. We don't dismiss it. We don't say it's not our job. They're sharing their concerns with us, and we can't expect all the citizens to be professionals and know everything about politics, because they're professional truckers or they're professional carpenters or whatever their job is. Right. So we come to them, we say, share your concerns with us, and we will work with you to take it forward to those people who are responsible. So in this particular case, the speed bump would have been in the area of 𝐒𝐞𝐿𝐻 and Harjinder Singh. It would have been inside of their wards. So I would then, once the election is over and when I get elected, I would go to them and I would say, okay, we have this area, this particular neighborhood that has a concern that falls within your area of responsibility. Right. Are you able to work to get this done? And so what would be great is if they are able to go fix it, with the resources that they have available. But let's say, for example, they didn't have the resources available. They say, yes, we have the staff that can do it, but it's just not in our budget. Right. And then they bring it back to me and they say, can you help? So then we approach the province and we say, we're not the actual ones installing the speed bump, but are we able to get the financing to be able to meet the needs of those people in that area? And absolutely, we work together with our, brothers and sisters at both the federal and the municipal level to make life better for people in our area.
Okay, and what are the plans to make sure that the people of Brampton, especially in your riding, are getting the maximum benefit in terms of jobs and economy-related issues?
So the first thing that you have to make sure is that your MPP is actually doing their job. Tragically, we've had an invisible MPP in Brampton East. If you look online, we are very fortunate in this country that they do tracking of statistics for voting and that sort of thing. Okay. And so if you look at the number of votes that he has participated in since being elected 2.5 years ago, he has voted exactly 5 times. So this is in contrast to other MPPs from Brampton that have voted, say, 89 times over that 2.5 year period. So if you look at 2.5 years, he's earned about $250,000 of tax dollars. He's voted 5 times. That's $50,000 a vote, Paji. Okay. Do you think that you're getting your money's worth at $50,000 a vote over a 2.5 year period of time? Right. there's no work getting done there. So the first thing that you have to do is that you have to focus on your MPP. Who has the most education, who has the most life experience, who has the most skill, and who's the most committed to the community, so that when people elect their MPP, they know that the person's going to be there for them. They know that when they pick up the phone to call, they're going to get an answer or a call back in short order, and the person's going to take care of them. That is your immediate concern. And tragically, we're not getting that with the current Conservative MPP in the riding of Brampton East.
Right. And what do you wanted to say, especially, I know many times there is a discussion for Highway 413, and some people are saying that's just a fake promise. But at the same time, when we talk about the same issue with the PC candidates, they are again saying that they will be starting the construction very soon, maybe in next few months or so. So how do you buy that logic? And regarding the 413, what would be the policies from the NDP side? And are you guys going to keep it continue, or you're going to shut the project off?
So there's two parts of that answer. So the first part is, do we expect them to keep their promise? Questionable. Okay. I mean, we've seen a history of broken promises with the Conservative government. But let's say, for example, the promise is actually kept, hypothetically. Mm-hmm. The fact of the matter is, it's going to take about 10 years to get the highway built. You drive you drive the same highways that I drive, 𝐏𝐫𝐸, right? Like, it is congested now.
Right.
The 401, literally, depending on which website you check, is either considered the most busy highway in North America, which is off scale, or it's considered the busiest highway in the world, literally, right, for the number of the vehicles that it handles and all the traffic congestion that exists there.
Right.
So the thing is this, the New Democratic Party is saying 413 is what it is. We don't think it's a good idea, but it appears to be going ahead. But our people need a solution now.
Okay.
We have the 407.
So NDP will keep it continue, or they are going to shut it off?
So I'm not privy to the contracts, unfortunately. I mean, that's the government of Ontario. So I don't know what the penalty clauses would be in that particular piece if we were to discontinue that contract. So I don't have the ability to really engage in that part of the conversation. What I do know is what the NDP has promised. And in fact, when we had Merit Stiles out with us, not Monday past, but the prior Monday, she spoke about this exactly, meaning that much of the 407 still is publicly owned.
Right.
So on day one, what's going to happen is commercial trucks, free of charge on the 407. So it makes it faster for them to travel around. It's cheaper, and it's also safer because the 401's not congested.
Okay.
Within the first 100 days, we'll be making it free for literally everybody.
Okay.
So then all of the citizens, province-wide, but of course mostly it affects, those of us living in the GTA, will be able to travel the 407 free of charge. I mean, but you and I both know, we saw, I can't remember how long it was ago, the 407 is so empty most of the time, somebody landed a plane on it. I mean, ask yourself, when was the last time you saw someone land a plane on, such a huge highway? Like, it literally doesn't happen. It is underused. And the fact of the matter is, that's a huge piece of infrastructure that we have available today. We're not waiting 10 years for the 413.
Right.
It is there today. And that's really the focus of the New Democratic Party. Merit Stiles, our NDP leader and the next Premier of the province of Ontario, is committed to bringing solutions that can help people as soon as possible, because we know folks are struggling. We know that they've experienced huge financial stress over the past 7 years that Doug Ford has been in government, and we want to provide solutions to them that can work for them and make their lives better as soon as possible.
Right. We have another caller, Bobby
Certainly.
Singh. So, Babaji, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਹੋ?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Good, thank you. Ji Martin.
Okay. I want to ask a question. Like, so many companies are running the business from Nova Scotia. Their job is here. They're running company here, but they're registered in Nova Scotia or Manitoba. Pay tax over there, but they run the all business from here. Doug Ford said they're going to do something about it, but they never done anything. And another question, driver never got increased the pay, and plus the companies are ripping up them to not to pay driver or owner pay. You guys going to do anything about that? Can you give answer, please? Thank you.
Okay, Babaji, thank you so much. Ji Martin ji.
So I'm going to engage the second question first. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about that second question, specifically he's talking about labor rights. We know that the New Democratic Party is the party in favor of labor. So when we have situations like the gentleman was talking about, where people are not being treated by employers, absolutely we're interested in fixing that situation. We want to make sure that everyone is getting a fair deal. Certainly businesses need to function, and we want them to make money so that they can grow and generate employment and improve our communities. That's fantastic. But we also have to make sure that the workers are able to be treated properly as well. It's one of the reasons why traditionally the New Democratic Party has had such a close tie with the union and labor movement, because we know that unionized jobs are more secure and they're higher paying jobs. Okay. And so what it is, and what I would share with our brother there on the phone, is that we are absolutely interested in being able to participate in the process. And I believe that there is actually a grievance process already in existence in the province of Ontario. I'm not familiar with the details, but if he or other of his friends and colleagues that are having challenges with this particular problem want to work with me to get it addressed and find out solutions to this, our campaign office is at 4515 Ebenezer Road. We're in Suite 208, and we are already collecting concerns that we have from the population in Brampton East. But if he's not from Brampton East, that's okay. Like if he's, from another part of Brampton or even Mississauga, we'd be more than pleased to give him a helping hand, because right. I'm sure others throughout Brampton are suffering from the same problem that he's mentioning. We would be more than pleased to help direct him to where he needs to go to find a solution for the problem that he has currently.
Okay, last but not the least, what else would be on your priority list for the transportation industry, apart from these kind of small issues or bigger issues? What would be the priority for the trucking industry only?
So the trucking industry part, the main thing that we've mentioned is that we want to be able to help our truckers, because a lot of folks in the trucking industry are struggling currently. And we have a number of them and their children who are participating in our campaign because they want to see solutions come forward. So reduced cost is one, and faster ability to travel. Okay. The 407 is the main key piece. And that's why we're talking about it on day one, meaning that we form government and boom, truckers are getting, free pass on the 407. So that shows the commitment that we have to that particular piece. And what I am interested in doing at a personal level is that I'm interested in engaging with the trucking industry, because I do not believe that the current Ford government listens to them any more than they listen to anybody else in Brampton, to be able to address the overriding concerns that they have. Part of that, of course, is making sure that we're able to have proper business with our friends and neighbors down south of the border in the United States. And clearly we want to be participating as part of the Team Canada approach in that regard. Right. Merritt Stiles, our leader, is actually fantastic in that particular regard, because she has much more experience. When we look at, say, the Conservative leader, Doug Ford, he negotiates poor deals. Like even now, when we talk about I think it's $100 or $150 million Starlink deal with Elon Musk that was on again, off again, and now it's back on again. People didn't really know a whole lot about it, but now that they see that it's come out, they realize that that's not a particularly good deal that Doug Ford negotiated as well. So we have a poor deal with the alcohol transfer into stores. We have a poor deal for Ontario Place. We now have the poor deal negotiated for internet for rural and northern Ontario. I'm concerned that he's going to end up negotiating poor deals all the way through. By contrast, our leader, Merritt Stiles, her career was in negotiating. She was a negotiator. She negotiated with some of the largest companies in North America many of them were even based in the United States. And so we have an opportunity here to elect as our premier someone who has the skills, intellect, and experience to be able to take care of these particular situations, be it truckers, doctors, education, whatever the case may be, so that we can make life for Bramptonians much better than it is currently.
In terms of the Doug Ford's decision regarding the U.S. liquor related announcement,
having LCBO not purchase American.
So if NDP will be in the same situation, what do you think? What would be the best solution for this kind of same situation? So NDP will be putting stop on U.S. companies or products? So
what I will say is that there are two parts to the answer to this question.
Right.
So when we look at the LCBO is an enormous company. People in Ontario actually have no idea how large it is. It may be the largest alcohol purchaser in the entire world. And I can tell you it's so large that other provinces, like the province of my birth, Nova Scotia, actually purchases some of the alcohol for sale in its own province, or it used to, through the 𝐿CBO, because it is so large and it gets good pricing as a result of what it's able to negotiate. So engaging the 𝐿CBO as part of a strategy makes sense at a provincial level because we actually have control over it. The tragedy is that Doug Ford is doing what he can with the 𝐿CBO and then saying he's going to do all kinds of other things to protect us against tariffs when he actually doesn't have the power to do so, and that is the federal government. So you can say that, I can't predict the future because I don't know what the situation's going to be. President Donald Trump is a rather volatile character, as we both know.
Right.
So what I'm hoping for is that our friends south of the border come to their senses.
So what would be ND's plan? Because let's say after 1 month, NDP is in the power, and you are going to face Doug Ford. Donald Trump, the same guy who is very unpredictable. So what would be the planning and how NDP will be dealing differently?
So what happens is that Doug Ford is trying to act like a cowboy, travel down to the United States and say he's going to negotiate a great deal when that's really not his place.
Right.
What we need to do, we need to work with the other premiers across Canada and the territories as well as the federal government. And that's why Marit Stiles is so well suited to this. She's used to being a negotiator in a team environment. Okay. So, I can't predict the future, right? I can't say we're going to do this or we're going to do that because the situation there may change.
People would be interested to know the plannings.
And the planning is to put in place a premier that is extraordinarily intelligent, very experienced, and has the skill. This is what she did. I'm a licensed pharmacist. If you have questions, ask me about, medication, and now I'm going into politics. So you ask me a question about politics. Right. If you want to talk about negotiation, and being able to deal with these types of situations, Marit Stiles is your premier. She is, I have a hard time thinking of another, premier candidate in my living memory.
So what do you want to say about Bonnie Crombie?
Well, I don't like to discuss my opponents in a negative way. What I will just say is what's currently on the record. Mm-hmm. We know that she doesn't care about Brampton. And this exists prior to, long before. This is a long-standing pattern of behavior.
But she would say that was a different situation, and now she's the leader of the...
Listen. You and I both know, and I mentioned it already, right? The best predictor of future behavior is past and present behavior. Yeah. Right. So what it is that what it is. Like I say, I'm trying to be very polite, right? Because I want to make sure that we have positive politics in this country. Right. So I will say this: you and I both know, Mississauga benefited enormously from the tax dollars that came out of Brampton to build up their city. And as soon as they didn't need the tax dollars anymore, Bonnie Crombie was looking to cut us loose. Right. And that was going to cause us significant problems and significant cost. That's why our own mayor, Patrick Brown, is not a particularly, huge fan of Bonnie Crombie.
But at the same time, even he's not a fan of NDP.
That's his own political affiliation, and that's fine. But it's important to see. I mean,
how do you take his endorsement for the PC party?
No, but hang on. Let's be fair to all involved here.
Right.
He is the mayor of our city.
Right.
And even God willing, I get elected as the NDP MPP.
Right.
I will work with Patrick Brown.
Right.
I will work with the councillors, no matter what their political affiliation, because I have to be there to do the best job for my constituents. So what it is that we want to make sure that we properly identify what's happening there. Like I said, there's a viral video out there right now with Bonnie Crombie, not my words, her words, expressing how she feels about Brampton.
So how do you see that kind of politics?
No, well, so it's tragic because let's go back to the question that you asked before.
Right.
You came to me and you said, well, that was a different situation. Oh, well, maybe she wakes up the day after election and decides that's a different situation again and decides to go back to not liking Brampton, right? Fickle politicians is not what we want. We want people that actually are going to do what they say they're going to do, and we want them to keep the promises that they make.
Right.
And that's what's really fortunate that we have my campaign, the other NDP candidates that we have in Brampton are all committed to finishing off the promises that we make. And I know Merit Stiles will come through on her promises for Brampton and the province of Ontario as our future premier.
So Martin Singh ji, thank you so much. Your closing remarks for the Brampton East residents. What would you do in the first 30 or 60 days for Brampton East if you are elected?
The first thing I'm going to do is that we're going to have a wide open door policy. Anybody who has any of the challenges. We've been on the doorsteps. We've heard people talking about healthcare. We've heard them talk about education. You and I didn't talk about crime today, but certainly people are concerned about crime and car theft in the area. We want to be able to engage with them to learn what their challenges are and which parts of the riding have specific challenges so that we can target where the concerns are and make sure our solutions reach out to those people as quickly as possible. This process, Baji, doesn't have to wait until after the election. Like you mentioned, the first 30 days, it can start now. People who have concerns in their constituencies can reach out to us directly. We have our door knockers going out every single day, meaning that canvassers, so they can register their concerns with them directly. Our office, like I said, 4515 Ebenezer Road. It's in the Ebenezer Plaza, and we're in Suite 208. We welcome anybody to drop by. If they have any concerns, don't wait till the first 30 days after election. Tell us now so we can have the solutions ready.
Martin ji, thank you so much and all the very best wishes.
Pleasure. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ.
ਸੋ ਦੋਸਤੋ ਇਹ ਸਨ ਮਾਰਟਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਈਸਟ ਤੋਂ ਐਨਡੀਪੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ. ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਡੀ ਇਹ ਵਿਸ਼ੇਸ਼ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ. ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਹਰਜਿੰਦਰ ਗਿੱਲ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੀ ਜੁੜੇ ਰਹੋ. ਕੁਝ ਸੰਦੇਸ਼ਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਵਾਪਸ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ.